Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm here with my guest, Randy. There's a lot I could say about this brother right here, but I'm going to let him speak about it. But thank you again, Randy, for coming on Let's Talk About It. I know your passion for real estate is tremendous, and I can't wait to unpack and let's talk about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. First and
Right.
foremost, before we even get started, man, let me give you guys your flowers. I watched a couple of episodes, man. I see the platform that you're building, and it's been an amazing ride for you. You know, from what I can see from the outside looking in, man. So kudos to you for building a great platform.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
So, man, let's just jump right into it. What inspired you to go into real estate, man?
Oh man, so I have a long version of the story, and then I have a short version. So I'll give you the short version because I don't want to take up too much time going over what happened.
Right.
So long story short, a few years ago, before I got into real estate, I would say more than a few years. I've been licensed for 11 years, almost come May.
Right.
But I was working in Wall Street. I was a vice president of internal audit department for a major bank in the city. And I was dealing with some very tumultuous times because there was a regime change in the banking system in the company that I was working with.
Right.
And
Is it because of Dodd-Frank?
no, it wasn't because of Dodd-Frank. It was after that. But
Okay.
I got a story offline. I want to tell you about that because
Okay,
I was
okay.
working on Wall Street when the market crashed in 2008 and then all the subsequent changes that happened. So
Okay,
we'll talk
okay.
about that later. But
All right, cool.
But anyway, there was a regime change, and as you know, when there's regime changes, especially from the top, there's a lot of changes, in management and operations, and
right.
so I was getting a lot of pushback on some of the operational issues that I was bringing to the table as an auditor, and at the same time, I was planning a bachelor party for my best friend's wedding.
Okay.
Ended up going to New Orleans, had the time of my life.
I love New Orleans.
Yeah, man, it was a great place, great
Right.
food, great vibe, great culture, man.
Okay, okay.
I can't talk enough about it. It's my favorite place in the States, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
Yes. So, I went there, had an amazing trip. So, I think I guess the varying degrees of emotions that I was going through dealing with this, pain points and drama at work
Right.
versus what I had experienced on that trip made me start to think about life. I had an epiphany and I realized that I shouldn't be spending time doing things that I'm not 100% satisfied with or mostly satisfied with. And I literally landed on Monday from that trip, went to the office on Tuesday, and by 10 o'clock, I was saying, I have to figure something else out because this is not going to work for the rest of my life.
Right.
And I prayed about it 3 times that particular day. By 3 o'clock, I thought back to when I was working and had a side job in college, and I seen this real estate school, and I was always curious and fantasizing about what it would be like to graduate from that real estate school or pass the test and go out
Right.
and help people. And so I said, you know what, I want to go into real estate. That's something I'm passionate about. My family was all into it, buying and
Right,
selling
right.
properties and
Okay.
whatever, fixing and flipping. And so I signed up right then and there.
Just like that.
Saturday I was in the class.
Okay, here you
So that's
go.
how it started.
Okay, so I to your point, when you bring on agents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you talk about that story a little bit to make sure that they're in the same path as when it comes to growth? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're a broker,
Mm-hmm.
you're also a leader. There's a lot of different facets that are going on when you're running your team
Sure.
and the company. How do you prepare new agents coming to that platform with the experiences that you had in real estate that made you jump into real estate?
Oh, that's a great question.
Brother, we got to get into it, man. We got to get into it, man. This is what
very,
it is.
very good question. So, there's a number of different angles that I approach it from.
Okay.
I think the first is, yes, I do tell the story as a part of my journey so
Right.
that people understand who they're sitting in front of and, what team they're going to potentially be joining in United Real Estate. And so I like to tell that story just to kind of give people an understanding of how things start. When it comes to working towards the road of greatness,
Right.
doesn't always end that way, right? So it
Correct.
started one way for me when I graduated college and I thought I was going to be doing this and working on Wall Street, and then it transitioned into real estate, which
Right.
actually turned out way better than I expected. And so for me, when I'm talking to agents that are coming on board and I'm setting them up for success, I like to look at a couple of things. I like to talk about the 4 pillars of real estate. So I use that story just to explain how I got here.
Right.
But the 4 pillars of real estate are extremely important, and I think not enough agents focus on that when they start to strategize their business plan. And those 4 pillars of real estate for everybody else out there
Talk
is,
about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sales, marketing, compliance, which is training,
Right.
and then financial side of things. Most people just focus on sales, right?
That's true.
So I talk about that so that people understand that, no, you have to have a holistic approach to doing business. And if you do, you have a better or higher probability of being successful. So that's the first point. The second thing that I do, and it's not in any particular order, I'm kind of going out of order a little bit,
Right.
but this is probably the most important. I try to find out what those agents' why why are they,
What's
their
their
why?
why?
Yeah, what's their why?
Right.
Because that is going to be such a strong factor in the probability of being successful, right? Right from the gate, right? If you're dealing with even someone that's seasoned, right? And the reason is because, especially for newer agents, but the reason that's important is because there's going to be things that's going to happen to you, around you, in this business that's going to make you want to quit sometimes, right?
Yes, I can see that. Yeah,
exactly.
I've seen that part a couple of times, right?
Absolutely. So understanding what that driving force is that's going to keep you going, in spite of all of those things that you may face on the road to wherever you're going in this business, that is, I think, very, very important in reaching your destination or a certain level of success. So yeah.
Given what's going on with the market, we're recording this is in March, right? We've seen the market within the past 3 days take about a 1,600 dip into the Dow.
Sure.
And in the perfect world, if the Dow's coming down a couple of points, you would see interest rates come back down. Unfortunately, that has not been the situation. The 10-year is what we use to gauge the 30-year fix or 15-year fixed mortgage rate, right?
Sure.
We've been over 4.25. People are dying to see when the rates are coming down, when the rates are coming down, when the rates are coming down. And there seems to be resistance, right? There's stubbornness right there. No, it's not coming, but we anticipate it's going to happen. Now, I used to be that type of person. Hey, man, the rates are going to come down. Now I've calmed down a little bit because there's just too much turmoil when it comes to the market and what's going on with the 10-year.
Sure.
To that point, we have limited inventory. We have agents who want to be who they want to be and want to provide home ownership. How are you having these conversations with your peers?
With the agents,
Excuse me, agents and peers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, with the agents, what I try to get them to focus on is focus on the mindset of abundance, right?
Okay.
Even in the market like this, there's still opportunity for you to carve out your fair share of business.
Okay.
Right. You have a lot of things going on. You just mentioned a couple things that I think is alluding to what everybody's expecting to happen with the attrition of agents leaving the business. So I think what's going to happen is the cream is going to rise to the top. Right. And so for me, it's about being more, pouring more into agents, getting them, developed more,
right.
Getting their communication skills together, and then having them go after whatever it is that they're trying to go after. Right. Whether it's doing more transactions with buyers, whether it's doing more transactions with sellers. Obviously, the limited inventory it's a challenge, right? This is something that you can't really ignore. It exists, right? But I believe that there's some opportunities that exist for realtors to really grow their listed inventory that a lot of people are ignoring. Right now, more people are carrying more consumer debt than they have ever carried.
That part,
right?
I wanted to talk about.
Right, we're going to talk about that. They're
that.
carrying more consumer debt than they ever have.
Right.
Most people don't know that New Jersey is the state with the third highest number of foreclosure filings in the country.
I did not know that.
Right. So what does that mean? There's going to be people who are going to be in situations that need to sell.
Right.
Right. And so what should we be doing? We should be leveraging tools like Remind. We should be looking for people who have notice of defaults, pre-foreclosure filings on a home, and having conversations with them to see if we could help them, from up under those situations that they may be in.
Right.
It may be selling, and there's some other options, as well. But, for us to get more inventory to the market, get ahead of the story. Yeah. So go out there, start reaching out to people who are in those situations, right?
Right.
And offer to help. Right. That's one of the.
You mean listen?
Yeah, listen. Yes, that's one of the probably one of the severely undertapped opportunities that realtors are just giving up and passing by.
And that's key. So just to go back to what Randy and I were talking about, consumer debt is rising, and we need to get ahead of this. And just because you're hugging on a 3 or 4% interest rate, and all of a sudden you think I'm going to lose that rate, I don't want to restart my mortgage. I understand. But if you have your credit limit here and you're above your credit limit or you're at your credit limit and you have no other ways to pay for it and you have a ton of equity in your house, this is the time to tap in. Look, you're going to be judged regardless, but it's what you can solve for now, because we know wages are not going up as quick as other things are going up, right? You go to the gas, you get gas, you go to the grocery store. We've seen all increases of how we live go up 20, 30%.
Sure.
And to go further, especially with the state of New Jersey, which we're talking about, we've seen taxes and now homeowners insurance. Everything has gotten up, right? I mean, like, you're not making that much money. You cannot go to your boss and be like, yo, let me get 20%. He or she may look at you like, all right, today's your last week. Right? You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't do that. So you have to live with what you have.
Right.
And especially when you have a family, the activities, like, those expenses just keep adding up. Like, I go through it sometimes. I'm like, wow, I got to pay this, I got to pay that. And the activities that our kids do, they want their money yesterday.
Right.
And so
Right.
you're looking at it like, oh, I got to do this. I got to go grocery shopping. I mean, in some cases, I can see why people, I can see why some are cutting coupons now just to get by because of how much things have gotten to the price point. And now you're just trying to get by. So to what Randy and I are talking about, we're here to listen to all your concerns and what it means to get by when it comes to home ownership. So if you're at that part, if you're at that part where you have a low interest rate, but you have a ton of equity, but you're maxing out on your credit card, give Randy and I a call.
Absolutely.
Like, let us help you. Like, it's okay. This is what we do. We live for solutions. And this is what's going to propel us as a community, continue to grow. And that's how we get to better ourselves, because every time each situation is changing and we're solving solutions, it crafts our message of why we are in real estate, because we really love what we do here. We really love it, man.
That's right.
So I'm happy you talked about that. That was a pinging point, and that was a good one. You got me on that one. You got me motivated. Yeah, man. So there's a lot of things you do when it comes to real estate. So you're a leader, you're a broker, you're a family man. What's your why?
Man, me personally, man, and I think we was talking about it in the green one. I want to have as huge of an impact on everyone that is in my circle and those that I meet. Right, I really want to come from a place of contribution. For me, for me, man, I really want to take care of everybody around me. Okay. You know, my mother.
So
my
your circle's
father.
important.
Yeah, my circle's extremely important. My mother, my father, my lady, my daughter. You know, everybody in my circle. Right. And so, in order to do that, it takes what? It takes money.
It takes money. It takes money. That part right here.
It takes money.
Okay.
But I understand that, you know, in this world, you know, the people that are the most successful first come from a place of contribution, and they understand that if you give enough people what they want, eventually you'll get what you want. And so I'm really simple. I don't have any extravagant reasons for why I want to make money other than just having a comfortable lifestyle and being able to help people around me.
So in other words, you're just modest.
That's it. I try to be.
You don't get caught up with all that other stuff. You're like, if I have enough in this account, I'm doing with my family, and I can get by, I'm good. My priority is just making sure the circle around me is around me.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I'm in real estate, because this industry allows leaders, those that want to come from, again, a place of contribution, to do that as much as they want or as little as they want. Right. And it's such a interesting space because, you know, you could leverage, as much as you want. Right. And that's the beauty of this business. And that's why I love doing it. Right. And that's why I'm in the position of leadership, because if I help a lot of people become successful, the law of averages, you have to be successful.
It has to work.
It has to work. There's no other way. So that's why I'm here, man.
I love it, man. So speaking of networking, you do a very, very, very hell of a job when it comes to networking. I
appreciate it.
I know you and your partners get together. How often do you network?
So I network quite often. I host events myself, and I attend probably 3 to 4 events a month. As a matter of fact, I was just at one last night. Okay. So
he's up here early. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I was at one last night, but I attend 3 to 4 events, and then I try to host an event every month. Every
month. Wow. 12. So you're doing educational events, right? Masterminds. I've seen that a couple of times, and you're doing a little bit of lavish too, right? Celebrate some of the wins we got, right?
That's it.
I see that. As I like.
You got to mix it up.
You got to mix it up. Mix it up. I will say, give her a shout out, Spree Thomas. Right?
Oh yes.
She's the reason. I'm more inclined to be with you today because I love the fact that how she moved with her business. And, you know, I knew of you from afar, right? I knew what you were doing. I saw some of the how you change certain industries, how you change certain people in the industry. But working with her, she's just like from A to B. She had her stuff together. She knew what she was doing. And this deal that we had wasn't that easy, right? Because we had to go through some litigations of probate and towns and all that good stuff. But I will say every characteristics of what it is to take when it comes to real estate, she had it. And I wanted to credit, I'm pretty sure you guys are having calls. And I called up. I was like, yo, how you do it? Like, why Randy? Like, you know, I had to ask that question. He's like, yo, he's good. Like, he talked to us. He instills what we need to do, how to get from this part to this part, and he's always around. You call him, he's available. And I'm like, that's so important, right? Because you have so many companies out there, right? I'm not gonna name them, but if I want to get in contact with my broker, I can't.
Yeah.
You're relying on a team of a member, of assistant, and I'm like, no, you brought me in. I want to call you. I want to talk to you. Like, how do you help me propel my growth, right?
Yep.
And I see that with some, they don't have that. And I just want to let you know that the conversations, I wasn't part of it, obviously, but every time I asked, I said, when we had conversations about you, she was like, yeah, every time I call Randy, man, I brother pick up the phone, he helped me out with everything. And real estate, to be clear, it's the I feel, I'm being biased, every day's a new day.
It is. You start from zero every single day.
Yeah, you start. That's a good one. I like that one. I'm gonna steal that one. You start from zero. Yeah. Because every time things are changing, right? So and things do happen, and sometimes you need to rely on someone to just get that answer you're looking for. So kudos again.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Shapri. She's one of our great agents, and I met her at another brokerage, and I started to as I do with a lot of people. Build a connection with her, and I saw the need, for me to come in, sort of like a mentor, in the beginning of our relationship, and I just started to pour into her, and she was so receptive. She was so coachable.
Right.
That's the reason why she's so great. She was so coachable that it just made sense, for us to continue to build the relationship that we have today. And now she's off on her own, like, she's already was independent, but now she's like further ahead. Right. And I can't attribute that to anything but her motivation and her ability to be coachable and just going out there and doing the work. So shout out to her.
Yeah, definitely. Pri is like, she's got it together.
Yep.
That said, what do you see the future of real estate? Like, what do you see happening in the next couple of months?
It's pretty interesting when I get questions like that, because I worked in, like I said, I was telling you again in previous days, I work in the corporate world down on Wall Street. And so I always, laugh at that question, because if I had a crystal ball, you know what I'm saying? I'd be a lot richer. I'd be a lot more wealthy, a lot more financially free. But yeah, from what I can tell, and all indications, from, I would just say, let's say a consumer standpoint, I think people are going to become much more savvier. Right. They're going to be more price conscious in terms of how much they're paying for the services that they're getting from realtors.
Right.
From an economical standpoint and an industry standpoint, I believe that we're in for a minor reset. I believe
I can see that.
Yeah, we're in for a minor reset. I don't think it's going to be as catastrophic as 2008. No. Obviously, there was some things in place to keep that from happening again. But I do think we're going to go for have a reset, and that's okay. I think actually, situations where market resets happen, this is opportunity for realtors with the wherewithal to grab more market share if they're smart about it, right? And so I think that's on the horizon. You got so many indicators pointing to that, right? I look at how they changed the definition of inflation, right? They changed the definition of inflation. Right. So that's a whole nother story, right? And then by the time, people always throwing around the R word, the recession, but realistically, by the time that they classify it, you would have had to been in the red for two quarters.
2 quarters, yeah.
Right?
That's exactly what it means.
So by the time you're in it, they classify it, you already been in it. So
that is true. That is true if you put it in perspective, right?
Yeah. So I think, we're heading towards that. How bad it will be, no one in no time will tell. Right. Just my guess. I don't think it's going to be as crazy as what everybody's worried about. But for people in our industry, I think the best thing that we can do is just keep working. Right. Keep your head down. Keep working. Pay attention, of course, but stay focused on what's important to you. Right.
Control what you can control.
Control the controllables. Right. And every day in this business, our job is to continue building relationships until we come across people that present a business opportunity for us to help. Right. That's it. And if you do that in abundance and in the right amount, right, with the right intentions, you'll be fine. I just don't like people overthinking it and like making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah. Sometimes like you said, sometimes people just go above and beyond for something that you didn't have to just do it. If you took your time and just actually think about what steps need to be done, like you can only follow the controllables like we talk about, then it should be easy.
Yeah, bro. I liken it to this. Like when I first got started in real estate, I'll give you a prime example of what I mean. When I got started in real estate, I was a listing-based agent, right? And I started part-time. Did 11 transactions my first year part-time. My first listing I got a week and a half after being licensed in the business.
That's what's up.
I got that from making calls.
The basics.
The basics, right? Making calls. And I wasn't door knocking, but I was reaching out to a lot of people. And at that time, the number that I was trained to do was 25 conversations leads to one appointment. Now, in markets like this, where there's limited inventory, people, there's a certain amount of uncertainty in the market.
Right.
You know, that number might be 50, right? It
Definitely
might be 40,
double, yeah.
right? It may be depending on who you're calling. It could be less,
Right.
right? But the reality of it is there's a number, so that means that there's a pathway, right, to get the results that you want. So if that number is 40, number is 30, 50, whatever it is, right? Just do it.
Right.
If you do it, then you'll get the intended result, right?
As you should.
And if you want to do more, then guess what? You do more.
Yeah, as you should. Well,
That's it.
To your point, the small things get you to return.
That's right.
And some people neglect it because they're like, I don't got to make this call. You know, I got social media. Social media is one facet.
For sure.
But, you know, not everybody at a certain age is using the internet like you are. So you still, I mean, how you going to know someone who's above 60 who don't use the internet, who still reads the paper, know about what you do? So you got to make you got to go back to the basics. You have to have different funnels in order to see what your results look like.
I believe that too.
Right. I strongly believe that. So you and I, basketball fan, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. What you think about Stephen A. Smith being approached by Bron about, you know, critique of him and his son in the NBA?
Man, I got so many thoughts on it, man.
Okay. We got to talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But all right, so my first thought was his son is in the NBA. Right. So he is subject to the same criticism every player is subject to.
Correct.
Right. So I don't think that because it's LeBron James' son, you know, he shouldn't be criticized, right? He should be criticized. Now, and if it's unfair or it's you know, overly harsh because it's LeBron James' son, that's a different story, right? Which I don't think it necessarily was coming from Stephen A. Smith, but he's not saying anything every other commentator has been saying. So,
he just has a bigger megaphone.
This is a bigger platform,
bigger platform. Right.
So to me, you know, was it bad? No, you know. So, and then the other thing is, I heard an interesting take on this, and I didn't even think about it. I forgot about it.
Okay.
So remember that situation where LeBron James got fouled really hard, and his mom jumped up off the sidelines.
Yeah. That was a while ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
He turned around and told his mom, "Sit down." Right. And you know, he got it. Right. So the same thing would apply in this situation.
For his son to be like, chill out, I got it. I got control over it.
Exactly. So I didn't even think about that. When I heard that take, I said, you know what? That's probably right. You know. So, you know, look, I don't think it's anything of any significance. It's just that it's LeBron James, that it's being talked about at the way that it's being talked about. But we all got to talk about it because we're sports fans. So, we hear it, so we talk about it. But, I don't think it was crazy what Stephen A. Smith said, you know. And I don't think, you know, LeBron.
He's a journalist.
He's a journalist. He's doing his job.
Platform.
He's doing his job.
To be honest with you, it was intentional because Steven got paid that week. Right? Steven got paid that week. He was like, yo, you're going to make this money. You're going to hear my voice. You're going to hear my voice. Don't you ever my son. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I can see where that coming. And that was out of character for Bron because he doesn't do that. So when it hit the airwave, we all saw it. We saw the snippet. We were like, yo, what?
But that's the thing about it. You know, some certain things could bring people out of character. You know what I'm saying? And family is one of those things. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was just something, you know, as simple as Stephen A. criticizing his son, which he does to every other player. You never seen LeBron James jump out of his character for a player on his team. No, it's what it is. It is what it is, right?
But I will say this, to credit Stephen A., when it was all said and done, settled, he said, I can understand being approached because he's a father first. He's not an NBA player at that time. So Stephen A. articulated as well as one can. He's a journalist, right? He definitely measured his words. He had a good rebuttal on it, and so kudos to him on that.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So Randy, man, look, you know, summertime is coming. I know you're busy, man, but vacation is important.
Oh yeah.
So what are you trying to do for vacation? If you're not doing vacation, where do you like to go for vacation?
Yeah, man. You know what? It's funny. I haven't even thought that far in terms of planning vacation yet for the summer.
That means he's that busy.
Right. Yeah, I have so many things going on in place. So like my daughter's.
But you need it though.
Yeah, you definitely need it. My daughter's in the 7th grade.
Okay.
Going into the 8th. So now we got to start looking at high schools because you know, before she even gets to the 8th grade, you got spring break coming up. You got she's volleyball, playing different sports. So it's so much stuff going on. But honestly, man, I'm probably gonna go somewhere tropical. Okay. Just like the next person.
Vitamin
man.
D, right?
Vitamin D, get the sun, man. We've been deprived of over these last few months, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna go somewhere private. Private. Go somewhere.
Well, you do well enough. You may be able to do something private. I don't know, man. I might get some coins from you, man.
No, I definitely want to go somewhere sunny, man. Beach and just enjoy an island, man, and some drinks and some cigars, man. That's it. That's it.
That's what's up.
Yeah, definitely.
You gotta have a cigar, man, because you and I
definitely.
both cigar smokers, and I see them pictures. I'm like, yo, my man, he looked real nice on that cognac and the cigar, man. Look real good. Look real good.
Yeah,
So
man. I definitely enjoy a nice bourbon, scotch, and a cigar. But yeah, definitely, man. We'll definitely make that happen. It's one of my favorite things. Oh man. So right now I'm dabbling in Japanese scotches and whiskeys. So I'm
there might be a tariff on that.
Listen, bro, this is already expensive enough. But right now I'm doing Hibiki, which is a Japanese whiskey. My boy put me onto it, so shout out to him for that. But but normally I'll do like a Glenmorangie. I'll do a Macallan. You know, Macallan's my favorite. You know, one of my favorite. But my everyday, you know, bourbon is probably Bullet. You know, that's if I'm drinking that regularly, that's
can't go wrong.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
All right, man. You know? Good. Well, if someone's looking for you, Randy, looking for the team, looking for some of the avenues you're providing when it comes to value, where can they find you, man? Sure,
yeah, man, absolutely. Anyone that wants to get in contact with me, I'm very open. You can actually reach out to me on Instagram. The handle is Randy the Realtor. Also on Facebook, Randy Williams, pretty much easy. Email address, njrealtorrandy@gmail.com. Phone number is 201-362-7331. So if you're interested in, you know, coming to any one of my masterminds, I do a Monday morning mindset call where we set up agents to have a great week, right? We try to give them the encouragement, motivation to start their week off on the right foot.
Right.
Quick 15, 20-minute call, nothing long. On Zoom, don't even have to be on camera. You can just call in and listen. You know, we try to motivate people to start the week off on the right foot. But yeah, I'm pretty accessible, man. And you might probably see me out at some of these networking events, right? That we talked about earlier.
It's important. I mean, you got to get out sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So yeah, definitely, man. So anybody reaching out or wants to reach out, wants to, you know, partake in any of these events, you know, be on the lookout.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So as always, Let's Talk About It on your favorite streaming platform. You got Apple, you got Amazon, you got Spotify. I mean, we're there. Tap in. Let's talk about it. Jimmy, I'm here to help you. And again, thank you for your time, Randy. Like I said, I love what you're doing. We have a lot of mutual friends, and I just want you to win, man. So I'm looking forward to this year and many more.
Likewise, brother. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.
Hey, listeners, are you looking to improve your home comfort and save on your energy bills? Let's talk about Seal Power. They've been awarded Energy Star Sustained Excellence Award, seen on Good Morning America, the New York Times, and World News. Seal Power is dedicated to keeping your home cozy while saving money. Check out their website for tips and incentives and more at CIELPOWER.com. Stay comfortable and save with Seal Power, where comfort meets efficiency. Follow them on Instagram for updates and more, and Let's Talk About It as well. Thank you.